Hello, I watched a TV show today, and the basic premise of the TV show is that two people put into the wild without any clothes to see if they can survive for 21 days. And I think that as a premise for a show, or just a premise in general, that's a good premise because I kind of feel like if you were to ask me, I would say that humans probably can't survive in the wild because we don't have any fur, so at night we would be cold, and our skin is really soft, so if anything did try and attack us, we wouldn't have any shielding, and we don't have any claws or teeth, so we can't really fight anything. So it would be interesting, to see how these people do manage, especially since at the beginning of the show they said that these people were experienced in survival or that sort of thing. So if two people who were really experienced went out there, maybe they would, start doing things and manage quite well. I don't know. The problem with the show is it didn't really work out. They sort of arrived at the wild without any plan. They were just put there, and it's like straight away when they were walking along, they were getting bitten on their feet by insects across the ground. And I kept on thinking, the leaves around them are huge. They could have wrapped leaves around their feet as they walked, or something, or anything, but they just didn't. And they used leaves to make a shelter and things like that. But it just seemed like they arrived without a plan. And then for the first 9 days, they didn't even eat anything because they didn't manage to catch anything. And then it started raining, and then they just stayed in trying to keep warm in their little shelter. So they didn't have much of a plan or anything like that. But the main thing that went wrong in the TV show was one of the people, Shane, I think his name was, decided he just didn't like the other person before they even met, because there's two people in this show. Before they even met, he decided that he didn't like them because they're in their 20s, and he doesn't like people in their 20s, so he didn't want to work with them. And so at one stage, for a few hours, he just went off without them. And that's really stupid, because they're out in the wild in Costa Rica, I think it was, with all these poisonous snakes and insects that could bite you and all sorts, and they're trying to keep warm and all that. And he just goes off just because he doesn't like them, because of their age, and that's the only reason he hated them straight away before they even met. And just a lot of the show, he seemed really negative and hated everything, even though he said that most of his life he had been doing things like that. He just seemed to hate everything. At the end of the show, it said that he was going to write a book about his experience. And I thought, why would anyone buy that book? First of all, everything was in the TV show, so I don't know what the book could possibly add. But second of all, why would you want to read another survival story by someone who hated the experience and didn't manage to catch much food, and stuff like that? He only caught one thing the whole time. Why would you want to? Why? What's the purpose of this book? It's not going to add anything. I don't know. It kind of feels like a lot of people do these sorts of things just because they want to write a book. But as I say, since it was all in a TV show, the book is incredibly redundant. Even if you did want to read the story is all on the TV show. It's there. It's nothing to add at all. Yeah, so they didn't really survive very well, because they only managed to catch 2 things to eat in the whole 21 days. There was a couple of things that didn't get mentioned. For example, if you've got a female in her 20s and you stick her out in the wild naked, I would presume at some point she has a period. That would be my presumption, that just never got mentioned. So I don't know what happened there. You know, things like this, I mean, it might be embarrassing to mention, but I don't know how she would have got by, I guess, leaves or something. But I don't know, it would have been more interesting if they did a show, and instead of it being about his stupid negative drama of him not wanting to work with someone younger than him, if they did it properly, and, you know, actually properly tried to do it, and we got to see a show where we see whether or not humans can really survive out there, rather than a show where they're just trying to wait out the 21 days because they know they get to go home in 21 days, and they just sit there and argue with each other. Because I don't know, there's just so many shows where that's how it ends up. And I want a real survival show, a real one, not one where they sit and bicker, just a real survival show where real stuff happens. It's just